Hello and welcome to episode 64 of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. I had a much better week than last week. I felt more productive, I felt more rested, I got more things done that I was hoping to get done. I didn't get all the knitting done that I wanted to get done, but I still have a lot of other things that I'm working on. So overall, it was a good week. I feel much more accomplished than last week. So what were we up to? Last weekend was Father's Day weekend. We had a really nice kind of barbecue over at my aunt's on the Sunday. And then Monday after work, we went out for a nice dinner at a restaurant that Dennis really likes. So I hope you guys had a really nice Father's Day as well. But otherwise, this week has just been working on custom orders, working on the bags that I am making for the trunk show tomorrow at Unwind Yarn House, getting the clubs ready, the June clubs all set up to be mailed out next week, and just other little bits and pieces like that. So what did I work on in terms of knitting? What do I have to share with you today? I have basically progress on 3 projects. So no finished objects, but I have progress on some of the projects that I've been working on. I also have a pattern highlight for you today, and then I have the collection. So the collection that I wasn't able to get done last week, I have for you this week, and then also I have the vote for the new collection. So let's get started. I am not going to have a sip of anything because I left my coffee over on my desk over there. It's halfway finished anyway, so there's no point. So no sips of anything today. We are just going to jump right into the progress that I've made on my June Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. So last week I showed you that I was working through the decreases after turning the heel, and I don't think I had quite gotten to the stitch count that I like to get to complete the rest of the foot. Well, I finished the first sock. So this is the first sock here. The colorway is Rose Champagne. It was the exclusive colorway for all the people who participated and completed all 12 months of Susan's challenge last year. And these socks I am making for Avery's teacher as her end of school year gift. So I have basically less than 1 week to finish this pair because the last day of school is next Thursday, and I want to have them done before then so that I can press them, block them, let them dry, and have them all ready to box up. So this is the finished first sock. I am following the pattern Jangles. I did this pattern earlier this year. I really, really like it. It's what kind of introduced me to this heel shaping that I have learned that I really, really like. And in this case, I did follow the pattern more closely because the designer does something a little differently with the decreases after you kind of turn the heel than I've been doing with my own kind of modifications. One of the reasons I decided to go back to this pattern is because it is primarily a ribbed design, and because this is for someone else that I don't really know that well. I don't know the shape of her feet. I know what size her feet are, but I don't know the shape of her feet. I thought ribbing would be the most forgiving. So it has a fully ribbed leg, and then the rib is carried down all the way down to the toes. Now, she has a size 9 foot, and I am an 8.5, 9, so I have been kind of judging the fit of these on my own feet, and these fit me really, really well. I started with a larger number than the pattern calls for. I think my typical size, if I'm knitting them for myself or someone that I don't know the fit of, I'll start with 81 stitches. I'll do a 2x1 rib, either for the length of the cuff or for the leg. I'll do the heel that I'm really been enjoying, which is kind of a triangular shape. You work it by increasing out until you kind of double the amount of stitches that are on the one side, and then you kind of work to the center, you do a little turn and start decreasing back to get to where your original stitch count was, and then you join in the round and keep going. Once I join back in the round, I like to decrease my stitches down to about 70 stitches before continuing on to the rest of the foot. Now, one thing that is interesting, this completely escaped me, is usually after I join back into the round, I like to look at where my striping sequence is, and generally I will kind of pull out any extra yarn that I need before I join in the round again to keep the striping sequence intact. I didn't even think to do that with this sock, and I think part of the reason is that the striping pattern is so subtle. Like when I first started knitting this sock, I wasn't even sure that there was 2 separate colors between the pink stripes. And I do believe there is. You can kind of see there's a lighter color with speckling and then kind of more of a tan color. So when I got back to when I joined in the round, I didn't even think to look at where I was in the striping. I just kept going, and then when I realized what I had done, I looked back, and I think it's okay. Like, you can tell the stripes have some different thicknesses here and there, but I don't think just, if you weren't familiar with how striping yarns worked, I don't think you would notice anything kind of going on any funky way in that area. So it's fine, I left it. But then I cast on my second sock. So I've started my second sock. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I usually, with striping yarns, I like to rewind my skein so the stripes are going in the opposite direction before I start the second sock. I didn't even think to do that with this yarn either. This is how it looks in the cake. And I just cast on the second sock and away I went. And it wasn't until I was, you know, maybe down past this pink stripe that I realized I hadn't done that, and I didn't want to rip it back out. And again, going back to the fact that these stripes are a lot more subtle than some of the other striping yarns I've used of Susan's, I figured, you know what, even if I had reversed them, I don't think there would be an obvious difference. Now the only thing is that this one starts with that darker pink, which I like, and this one doesn't. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. At this point, I don't want to rip it out. I don't think the teacher is going to mind so much, and I think it's something that a knitter would notice and not necessarily someone else, because the rest of the sock is going to look fairly similar to the first sock. Again, because these stripes are a lot more subtle, I think the second sock is going to look very similar to the first sock anyway. So this is my progress so far. I am just working down the ribbing of the leg. I have maybe a couple more inches to go before you can see the increases start about there. So I have maybe about 2 more inches to go of just ribbing before I put my stitch markers in and start doing my increases. I do find that once I get to that point, it does go fairly quickly. The heel part goes fairly quickly, and then once I join back down in the round again, for some reason it seems like the foot takes forever. But hopefully I'm going to get these done. I generally do make quite a bit of progress on my socks over the weekend. So I don't think I'm going to have any time to knit on these for the rest of today, because after Avery gets home from school today, she's going to her grandma's because I have the trunk show tomorrow and Dennis has soccer all day. So she's going to be spending the night and having a lovely day with Grandma. So I'm not going to have a chance to knit on these tonight, and I'm not really going to have a chance to knit on these tomorrow because I don't, it's not as mindless as I would like if I was bringing a project somewhere. So hopefully Sunday I will be able to get a good portion of these done so that there's very little left to do on that second sock as we head into the week. The second project that I have to share with you is one that I showed you last week that I had just started, and that is my hand spun socks. And I'm starting to think that I shouldn't have cast these on, even though I really, really wanted to cast these on, because when I do work on these are addictive. This striping, or it's not even striping, but the hand spun is just knitting up in such a fun way that I just keep wanting to see what is going to happen next. So this is what I have of the hand spun in the cake, and I spun this out of some tiddly bits, which were basically just a whole bunch of little pieces of fiber in different colors that were in a bag, and I just pulled one out after another as I spun them. So it was a complete random order that I spun them in, and you can see that it ended up just being this really bright rainbow barber pulled skein of yarn. Last week when I showed this to you, I believe I had just started with the cup. I wasn't very far in. I was probably right about there. And this is how much progress I have made so far this week. I haven't knit on these continuously because, like I said, when I do sit down and knit on these, I find them to be very addictive, and so I've had to kind of put them away and concentrate on other things. But when I just want a mindless knit that's just fun, this has been perfect. So I don't think I have too much farther to go before I'm going to put in the heel. I have decided that I'm going to bring in a contrast heel for these, probably some Patton's Croy, because I don't know how strong this hand spun is going to be, and I would just like a just a stronger yarn to be on the heel, because that is where I tend to have the most wear on socks. I don't think I've worn any of my socks out, like I haven't worn a hole in any of them, but where the place that I notice the most wear tends to be the heel. So I need to go through my solid yarns that I've kind of put aside for like sock accents and see if I have maybe a nice charcoal gray or something, or even a navy in the Patons Croix that would kind of go well with this. And then I'm going to put in a German short row heel. When I've done German short row heels going top down, I actually do find they fit me much better than when I've gone toe up. So that should not be a problem. So that is how far I've gone on that. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying that project. I think once I get my June Desert Vista Dyeworks socks done, I'm just going to dive into those socks and finish those up, because they're just such a fun knit. The final project that I have to share with you that I worked on this week is my Cumulus Blouse. I don't think I touched this at all last week. If I did, it was only 1 or 2 rows. This project is a pretty simple project to work on because I'm on the body and it's just going round and round in stockinette, but it is a larger project. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it's not, at this point, it's kind of boring. I'm at a boring part of this project. So I want the finished object, I want the sweater, I want to finish this, but it's not as interesting to work on. I did bring this week to Avery's Little Ninja class because it was just stockinette, you know, round and round and round. I do think this is the project I'm going to bring with me to the trunk show tomorrow. If we have a chance to knit, this is a good project, I think, because it's just around and around. I can put it down very easily. So I think I might get a little bit of knitting done on this tomorrow. We will see. So if you remember, I finished the V-neck shaping several weeks ago, and then I was able to take the stitches off for the sleeves. And I believe the last time I showed it to you was maybe 2 weeks ago. I was where the little emoji happy face guy is, and then I have since added maybe 2 or 3 inches. So that is what I have done this week from where you see the stitch marker. And because there are so many stitches on this, it is very slow going. I am seeing these yarn balls dwindling down though. These are this is my second group of 2 balls. I am holding this yarn double. It is some cashmere yarn that my dad brought me back from China when he visited there several years ago, and I was hoping that I would I have a ton of this yarn, and I was really hoping that I would use up a lot of it, but this is now, so ball 3 and 4 that I'm starting to see the end of. So I don't know how many balls are going to end up going into the body. I do want this to be a tunic length sweater, and I am going to be making it with 3/4 length sleeves, and that is so that it will fit into my Breezy Arms cowl. So just another little mention, in the Bling Your String group, we are doing a Breezy Arms cowl, and it goes until September, and it is for any garment from baby to adult that just shows part of your arm. So because I am doing 3/4 length sleeves on this, it will fit into that cowl. And there have been tons of garments being submitted already, and I was actually thinking, because it's been a couple of months that it's been going on, I think I'm going to do a participation prize soon. So you don't have to have finished anything, you just have to be posting in the thread. I think I am going to draw a participation prize very soon. I also wanted to mention a pattern highlight. So because this kind of would fit into the Breezy Arms theme, if you are looking to participate, if you're looking for a pattern, or maybe you have already completed some but you're looking for, you know, another project to start, because we are finally getting into the warmer weather. I was browsing the designer forum. I have mentioned that I like to pop in there every now and then and just see what the new patterns are. So when designers release new patterns, they will often post, there's a thread for kind of like a monthly release, so new releases for whatever month. So I popped into the June one to see what new patterns were coming out, and one caught my eye by the designer Kate Oates. I have several of her designs. I have one of her books. The sweater that I knit for Dennis, or finished for him last year, was from one of her designs. I really do like her aesthetic, and she just released a new summer tee pattern called Julie Twist. And it just really caught my eye. I really like the kind of the lace detail down the v-neck and then down the front. I liked that it kind of had a high-low hem shaping. I liked that there was different sleeves. You could do shorter or longer sleeves. It just seemed like it would be a very flattering design on a lot of people. So I thought I would mention it here in relation to the Breezy Arms cowl because it would be a really great pattern, I think, for a lot of people if you were looking for a new warm weather garment pattern. So that is all for the knitting this week. Next I have for you the collection from the fabrics that you voted on the last time there was a vote. And the fabrics were between two. There was a cat fabric and a dog fabric. And the dog fabric was with little wiener puppies, and the cat fabric was with some black cats and like a floral motif. And the wiener puppies won, which really excited me because I really enjoyed the colors that were in the fabric. So I was able to do 3 bags and then some yarn, and I will show those to you now. The bags I was able to get were 2 wee sidekicks. These are kind of like a smaller bag size with interfacing. I was able to get one using all the main fabric, and then I was also able to get one with an accent fabric. So this is the fabric that you will also find inside as the lining for these bags. So 2 wee sidekicks. And then I was also able to get a regular pouch, and these are great travel bags because they just scrunch up and they can go into a larger bag. For the yarn, I tried something new this week. So I did do a deluxe sock set. My deluxe sock sets come with 1 50-gram skein and then 2 20-gram skeins in kind of coordinating tonals. So this is the set here. For the speckle, I did a gray base, just like the fabric, and then I pulled in kind of all the colors that you could see within the dogs, and then I did these 2 as the contrasting tonals. And then my deluxe sock sets also come with a little clay stitch marker, and for me that is kind of like the fun part. And this set, because of the dachshunds on the fabric, I did a little dachshund marker. So that is the marker that comes with the set. And then I also tried something new, a different kind of set, and I think I might call these like my super sets. So for this one, there is a 100-gram skein in the main speckled yarn, and then a 50-gram in one of the tonals. So I just did one color in the 50 and then the speckled in 100. So there's a total of 150 grams in this. So I think if you need to make socks, like larger socks or socks for bigger feet, or this would even work well for kind of like a shawl with an accent that would call for up to 150 grams. I think this could work really well for that. I did do a marker for that set as well, and I think going forward what I might do on the website is offer the option with my sock sets and supersets to add in the clay marker or just to get the yarn by itself. So I'm going to try and create that kind of listing so that you have that choice. But yeah, so I made enough markers to go with each of the sets, but there will be the option to just get the yarn or get the yarn with the set. And then finally, I have the vote for the next collection. And because the weather seems to be finally warming up, I mean, by no means have we been getting like really hot days, but at least they've been in the 20s and it's been sunny for the most part and pleasant. I was inspired to bring in some kind of summer themed, like garden themed fabrics. So the first one is this snail fabric, and there's kind of like a leaf motif and then all these little snails. I really like the colors of this one, so that is your first choice, the snails. And then the second choice is these butterflies. So there's a really pretty coral background and then just this more warm color family. I do like that there's kind of like this pale mint. I think that would be really fun to play with, but your second choice is this butterfly fabric. So you can let me know down in the comments below which fabric you would like to see in the next collection. And again, any comment on any of my videos does enter you into a monthly drawing that I do for a $20 coupon in my shop. So I think that is all that I have to share with you this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you have a fabulous weekend with lots of crafting, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.